All right, we're right at 2 o'clock, so we always want to be respectful of your time and start on time. Okay, so what we're here to talk about today is the smartphone 911 application. There's one specific application that has really probably generated the concern or the question or the desire to have this webinar. But really there's an entire group of or category of applications out there that are looking to improve on 911 or add additional features and services to 911 that would benefit the calling citizens out there and people who are trying to access 911. So we're going to talk about them generally at first, and kind of what they do, what some of them features do they have, and that sort of thing. Then we'll talk about some of the specific applications that we found, and then end with kind of the what you should do about it. Now, I did see pop up on the people as they came in, Reinhard Eckel, who is from Rapid SOS and the Haven app. So he graciously agreed to be on the call to answer any questions if anybody has them towards the end when we get to that point. As is always the case, we are recording this and we'll make the recording available online. But we also, if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt, unmute your phone, just get my attention, and we'll go ahead and answer the question when you have it. But generally, the overview of these applications is they seem to have, in our research, several different design philosophies, or they're designed to facilitate different things. Some of them seem to be designed to more rapidly access 911. They have single button. They'll have a way of one of them. It was you press and hold the power button for an extended period so that you can more rapidly access. One that I saw that I really thought was interesting that mentioned when we start talking about the app specifically, but it actually kind of has a switch that you have a button on your phone. As long as you hold the button, it doesn't call 911. But if you were to lift your finger off the button, it'll dial 911. And the thought behind that, or the philosophy, is you feel unsafe. You want to know that if something happens to you, that the call will go through. So it's kind of like getting the 911 call prepped and ready. And if you happen to drop your phone or just release the button, you don't actually have to dial the numbers. So it's designed around the idea of being able to get to 911 and dial those digits more quickly. There's also applications that promote the improved accuracy of location. Now, many of you may not be aware, because we carry around this little device and we call it a phone, but it's much more a computer than it is a phone. And it has a multitude of sensors in it, including for barometric pressure. It can be communicating with Wi-Fi hotspot, Bluetooth. Of course, it has GPS built in, and any number of other sensors. And of course, each generation of phone has more and more capability to it. So those sensors can be used, and those features of Wi-Fi and those sorts of things can be used to actually provide a more accurate location than the GPS or the network-based solution by itself. It can provide information of specific address or of even the elevation and the floor and things like that. So several of the applications seem to focus on this idea of 911 just as a telephone number isn't taking advantage of all of the features that the phone has and that we could leverage. And of course, as we all know, a lot of it has to do with the 911 network and our inability to process the data. Third, there's some that it's all about providing additional information to the call taker. Now, some of these seem to be subscription-based, where either the community subscribes to them or the individual subscribes to them, and in some ways then this additional information is transferred to the call taker. They seem to be interfaced through CAD systems and things like that, but if I pre-register and subscribe in a community that participates, then I can get additional information about my health or that sort of thing transmitted to the PSAP if I should call 911. I am hearing a little bit of background noise. Please mute your phone if you haven't. If you joined late, please mute your phone so that we can get rid of the background noise. Thank you. Another one that's very, very, very popular, or becoming much more popular, and probably was the most common feature of all these apps that we found in our research, was this concept of notifying others, like family members, of the emergency. So basically what happens, since text messages are sent out through the control channel and can be made, I'm sure we've all done it, where we've sent text messages while we're on the phone. So when you dial 911, or the application dials 911, it also sends text messages to your contacts to let them know that 911 was dialed. Now, a couple of the applications that offer this feature focus it on people with medical emergencies. In fact, one talked about, if your child is diabetic and you want to know when that person dials 911, it will automatically send the text message to that family member. But as you can imagine, they're getting a text message that says, Steve Marzoff has called 911, and several of them talked about sending your lat long and or an actual picture of a map to show where you were, where the phone thought it was when you dialed 911, and that information is transmitted to your family member as well. So to me, this feature, since it does seem to be one of the more popular features of these types of applications, is one that I could foresee us getting calls from family members saying, I just got a text message from my son that he dialed 911. What's going on? Because the message doesn't say what's wrong. It just says 911's dialed from this person at this location. Have a nice day. So at the end of the day, you don't know what the emergency is, and I could imagine that family members will want to call 911 or call the PSAP closest to that address, possibly, and ask what's going on, what's wrong with my son, why did he call? And like I said, the sharing the location, the where am I when the person dials 911 and actually transmitting the map. So if you go to either of the app stores, either Android or to iPhone, the iStore, and you Google or you search the term 911 or emergency application or something along those lines, you will see that there are dozens and dozens of apps like this. And some of them are free. Quite a few of them, I downloaded several to my phone to just see what they were all about. Several of them say they're free. Several of them say free with in-app purchases. And then there are some that cost. And the costs run anywhere. The cheapest one I saw for cost was 99 cents. And the most expensive one that I saw was $9.99. And then several of them had subscriptions along with it as well. The one we'll talk about a bit today with Rapid SOS has a monthly subscription cost that's associated with it in order to continue to receive the service after an initial trial period. So there's a multitude of different ones out there, but they all tend to do these different features or try to facilitate improvements on 911 beyond just the basic voice call and phase 2 location that we get today. So I mentioned we did some research and a search. Here are just some of the ones that you can find and what they do. These were focused primarily on the iPhone 911 app. That's actually what it's called. Does text messaging to contacts. The Safe Trek is the one I mentioned is kind of like a deadband switch that you when you activate it, you put your thumb on the screen and you hold it. And as long as you hold it, it does not dial 911. And if you release that for any reason, it dials 911 just as a regular phase 2 call, nothing else. Or if you get to your car and you're safe, you have to put in a 4-digit code in order to deactivate it. So that way, a perpetrator can't just put his or her finger back on it. you actually have to put in a code to keep it from dialing 911, which I found very interesting. It's a real interesting feature. I don't know that I've ever felt that unsafe to need to have 911 that close, but it did have several downloads from the App Store. Watch Me 911 is one that does text messages to contacts, and it also had a countdown timer. You could say that if I don't cancel it within a certain period of time, if it's supposed to take me 3 minutes to get to my car and I don't cancel it after 3 minutes, it will dial 911 for you and send messages. Blue Light did texting contacts. It also had the concept of special routing. This one I found interesting. I don't know, was not able to determine whether any place in Virginia subscribes to this, but it's a community subscription-based app whereby, and they were focused on college campuses and industrial complexes, things like that, where if you're, say, a university campus subscribed to Blue Light and one of the students downloaded the Blue Light app, then, and they pressed the 911 button in the Blue Light app, it would instead be routed to the campus police rather than to, for lack of a better term, the real PSAP or the real 911 center. So it's a way for people who are not part of the PSAP, like a campus, university campus, or something like that, to be able to receive the calls directly and have a special routing. Again, I'm not sure if it's being used anywhere in Virginia, but they are clearly marketing towards that type of campus environment. And you can also register locations of where you are normally. So if you're on campus, you could register your dormitory, you could register your classrooms and things like that to get a more refined location to be transmitted to the campus police rather than just the longitude and latitude or in some building that might be 5 stories tall. Silent Beacon was interesting because, and I noted it because it sends text messages to contacts, but it will also text message 911. So if you press a button with that, it will send messages saying that you attempted to call 911 to your family, to whomever you want. But it also noted that it will also send the text message to 911. It will also do location tracking. So that way, if you do send that text message, they're able to go to their website and actually see where have you been. Where are you now? Where have you been? Because your phone is, as the name implies, Silent Beacon, sending out a beacon the entire time to where you are. 911 Buddy was unique. I love these names. 911 Buddy was unique because it allowed you to be able to call 911 anywhere in the United States. Don't know the source of their PSAP call data, but the concept is if you're trying to call because your grandmother in Kansas City is having chest pains while you're on the phone with her, you would be able to go to 911 Buddy, put in that address information, and it will then give you and allow you to dial the 10-digit number for the PSAP in that area that you're trying to reach so that the call can get to the right PSAP anywhere in the United States. There was 911 Help SMS. This was another one that allowed to text to contacts, but it also gives alternate numbers for 911. So when you're trying to dial 911, you have at your fingertips the ability to dial the alternate 911 number, 10-digit number for the PSAP as well. Again, don't know. It was not clear from their website what the source of that alternate 911 numbers is, but it was a feature of the application and at least what they say they deliver to the customer or to the person that's doing it. The Emerge 911 is mainly texting to the contacts, but also allows texting the 911. there's actually an app called just 911. There's a call 911. This one was very interesting because it also will concurrently post your status to Facebook that you called 911. I'm really not sure why one would want to post to Facebook that you called 911, but they made it very as a very important feature of their application that in fact it would automatically post a status to Facebook that you had called 911. That's when you hope somebody's really watching your news feed. But Siren GPS is a community-based, another one that's like the blue light that was is community-based, where the community subscribes to it. And if the community subscribes to it, the citizens in that community, whether it's a campus or a city or even a whole county, and they can get in and provide additional information about medical information and things like that, that then is transmitted to the PSAP should they dial 911. And then finally, the one we'll probably spend the most time talking about, Rapid SOS, does have the text messaging, the contacts. It does have a more refined location based on the sensors within the phone. And kind of their unique feature I didn't see with any others was this unable to speak capability that they have with the ability to send a synthesized voice to the PSAP of a recorded voice of either a text message that the caller's typing in, or if they're not able to speak at all, it will send the information about who it is that's calling, some basic medical information, and basic other information. So, any questions up to this point about any of what these things kind of do and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing? All right. Well, what I found in putting this together, probably the best way for us to talk about what Rapid SOS does is to actually look at their PSAP training. Now, we're not going to go through every slide, but they do have an extensive PSAP training guide that is available. All you have to do is put in your basic information about who you are, your organization, and so forth, and start training. Come on, there it is. So we do have they do have this capability, and like I said, it's available to anybody from the URL that's provided there, and they have the overview. I'm going to skip a few slides here, and I think it's this one about what to expect when the callers use Rapid SOS. So I think this is really what is important with this. Now, excuse me, when the person launches the app on their phone, you can see on the phone there that they get essentially 4 buttons. One is medical, police, fire, and car crash. But it uses the sensors that I mentioned on the phone in order to be able to determine the best possible location. It could be a civic address. It could end up being a lat long XY. It depends on what's available at that time. It will identify the type of emergency in that they press one of those 4 buttons. And because they register with Rapid SOS, they do provide they can provide demographic information and medical information as part of their profile that does get passed on to the PSAP, especially if they hit that do not talk. So one thing it does that's different than a lot of apps is it'll look for what is the best way of getting the call to the PSAP. First choice would be Wi-Fi, because if it has a signal, and it would then process the call as a voice over IP call. If not, cell data, again, it comes in as a voice over IP call, or finally, just regular old cellular voice, at which point it would just be a WPH1 or WPH2 call, just like any other type of 911 call. But the app determines what is the best way to get this call, determines what's the best way to get this call to the PSAP. And if no service is available, it will just continue to keep trying. It is routed to the local primary PSAP, and it does come in on the existing trunking into the PSAP. Usually whatever the voice over IP trunking is in Virginia, I think pretty universally everybody's using their wireless trunks for voice over IP. So they're going to come in on the same trunks on the wireless as regular wireless calls as well. So when what does the caller see? When they start the application, they get the 4 buttons. They pick one and say they hit medical emergency. So they map. I'm sorry, folks. Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize. I switched phones. This one's going in the trash. Actually, it truly is. I just ordered a new phone, and they just sent me an email saying it's in. So I apologize for that, folks. And but what we were talking about was the second step on this slide of the confirming location. The caller can move their location anywhere and have the call go through. It will go through based on where the caller says they are. Now, the advantage to doing that is if I'm calling in an emergency for someone else, my grandmother's having a heart attack, the accident isn't where I am, whatever the case may be, I can move the map to where and drop a point where the actual incident is, and I will get the PSAP that is responsible for that location. Some concern had been expressed by some PSAPs that they were concerned that might cause somebody to be able to abuse the system and be able to pretend like they're in Alaska when they're really in Virginia or vice versa. But one of the responses that we got back from Rapid SOS is the fact that theirs is a subscription system, so you do have to register, and they do have they don't process non-initialized phones. They don't process any of that sort of thing. So as a result, they know who that person is. So it may have to be after the fact that we resolve the false call. I guess at the end of the day, it was viewed that the feature of being able to say I'm somewhere else is more valuable than the risk of having abuse or that sort of thing. So, but the caller does have 10 seconds to move their location someplace else and say, I'm not where it thinks I am, I'm someplace else, and can adjust that location. And then the call gets placed, and they speak to the PSAP as if, and there's really, they don't see difference between this and dialing 911 on their phone. There really is no functional difference to them between the two approaches. So what is it that the PSAP sees? Well, it depends. As I mentioned, the application decides what's the best way to route the call. It also decides, okay, what's the best location I have? And if it can resolve to a civic address, an MSAG valid address, then it will process the call and it will come in and it will have a class of service of VoIP. It could have a VoIP nomad, a nomadic voice class of service if you're using that or if that's available. But it'll have a VoIP class of service. It'll have the name of the caller. It'll have the MSAG valid address, and then it'll say in there what the emergency is. You can see the line about halfway down the screen where it starts out our SOS, which is the NINA ID. Then it will say the type of emergency based on the button that they pressed and the accuracy of the location in meters that the application was able to determine. And then at the very bottom, there'll still be a lat long. So this will look pretty much like any other VoIP call, with the exception of the addition of lat long. Now, this exact ALI format that you see here is based on, it's a generic format. It's not necessarily the exact format that you would get. That's based on your 911 service provider and how they pass the data to you. But it does show the data that's provided to the PSAP. But otherwise, it looks like any other 911 call that you might receive through VoIP. If it can't resolve to a civic address, and it's going to be using
the lat long geospatial location, then it will come in with a class of service of WPH2, or VoIP mobile if that class of service has been implemented. And it will provide the coordinates, the lat long, much like a phase 2 call does today. You'll notice that instead of where we'll typically say Verizon or AT&T or somebody like that for the company name in the whoever owns the tower, it says Rapid SOS, and but otherwise it provides pretty much the same information as a phase 2 call. Any questions about what you would see at the PSAP? Because this is kind of the important part. One interesting thing, or two interesting things. One is, it comes in automatically WPH2 because the phone has already determined where the location is. And it will, as I said, will route based on that location as well. So where with most wireless calls today, they're routed just based on cell sector. That wouldn't be the case where the longitude and latitude or the location was determined more accurately by the app and passed along. Because again, on the previous slide where you saw the person gets a map and they say, this is where I am, they've already confirmed their location. There isn't any pulling that location information. So again, if it can provide a MSAG valid, it'll have a class of service of VoIP. It'll provide the address, and the software that, the mapping display software in your PSAP will display that based on that civic address. If it can't provide an MSAG valid address, it'll be WPH2 and it'll be a lat long, much like a wireless call. So they also have this feature of can't speak or texting. So it's two different. When they make the call, after they say this is where I am, this is the screen that comes up on the left, and you see there's a text icon, and then there's a text icon with an X in it. The text icon allows the caller to type in a message, and it will be read spoken to the call taker. Okay? And there's an example of it here that in a second that we'll play for you so you can hear what the voice sounds like. But it's important to note that the caller can hear the call taker at all times, and the call taker can hear whatever's going on the end of the caller as well. So it doesn't cover over the voice if voice is also there. So if a person texts the call taker can answer them in voice. The call taker cannot answer them in text. It's one-way text only. It's from the caller to the call taker. Now, with the can't speak mode, it's similar, but it will relay and read for the caller, for the call taker, the basic information about it. It'll be the name of the person, where they are, their lat long, the type of emergency, which button of the 4 they pressed, and then any kind of demographic information that was provided. Again, it's the same thing where it doesn't cover over the voice. If there is any noise or any sound, the call taker will still be able to hear it, and vice versa. I will tell you on this one, I had an opportunity to accidentally use this for Chesterfield. Rich, if you're on the line, or Alan, thank you all for not arresting me. But I was playing with the application and didn't realize it would actually send it in test mode, the message to the call taker, and the call taker called me back and said it gave my name, gave my address, because I happened to be sitting at work. It gave the proper address. It gave my lat long, and it gave my height and race. I'm just so thankful I did not put my weight in there before starting it, or that everyone would know that now. But it does provide that information to the call taker. So what does it sound like? Well, this is a scenario where somebody does a text to make sure I'm right on that. Yes, somebody types in a text. This is the type of voice that you would hear.
Caller has typed a message. Please send help. I am being held hostage in the basement.
So hopefully you could hear that. It was exactly what the caller texted is just read to the person. Now, in the scenario where a call is disconnected, and they need to reconnect to the caller, that it will also play a message, and that is, there's two messages here I'll play.
The caller, Michael Martin, at confirmed location, 526 7th Avenue, New York, New York, 10018, is experiencing a medical emergency. The caller, Michael Martin, is experiencing a medical emergency. Michael Martin has provided the following medical information: has known allergies, penicillin, has pre-existing conditions, high blood pressure, has left a medical note, previously had 3 concussions, is on the following medication, vitamins. Stay on the line. Reconnecting to the caller. To end the conversation, hang up the caller. Reinhardt EKL at confirmed location, 526 7th Avenue, New York, New York, 10018, is experiencing a police emergency. The caller, Reinhardt EKL, is experiencing a police emergency. Reinhardt EKL is a 30-year-old Caucasian male. The caller is 5 feet 8 inches and 160 pounds.
And he likes long walks on the beach, and no, I'm just kidding. So you can hear that how the message comes in, and the reason this is important to make sure your dispatchers are aware is that's what it sounds like when a call comes in, and they answer the phone, whatever, county 911, where's your emergency, and they hear that, they may think it's a telemarketing call. They may think they're going to have to listen carefully. As you heard there, Reinhardt's last name is Eckel, E-K-L, but instead of pronouncing it, they spelled it. So there are some limitations to the technology in what exactly is going to be broadcast. But here's an example of the, excuse me, can't speak mode. So if I were to hit the button can't speak, this is what would be transmitted.
Caller is unable to speak. The caller, Reinhardt EKL, at confirmed location, 526 7th Avenue, New York, New York, 10018, is experiencing a police emergency. The caller, Reinhardt EKL, is experiencing a police emergency. Reinhardt EKL is a 30-year-old Caucasian male. The caller is 5 feet 8 inches and 160 pounds.
So that's an example of the types of an automated message that could come into your PSAP from one of these applications. Now, theirs was the only one I found that had that feature. It seemed to be unique to their solution. But we also all know that nothing stays individual for long. I mean, if it's successful, other people will copy, and it will. Others will provide similar capabilities, whether it's, texting or that sort of thing. But, this training, it's rapidsos.com/PSAP training, and it's available to anybody. You just need to put in your contact information. These last couple slides give you scenarios of what to do if, the number they provide is in fact a valid callback number. It's the one that they pre-registered. So you can call back the Annie. It's not like a P Annie. It's a real callback number. There's contact information for Rapid SOS. I will tell you that they've been very open to working with the PSAP community and credit several localities, several PSAPs in development of this, including some in Virginia. But if you have any issues or something isn't working right or doesn't seem right, you take down those numbers and be sure to contact them. What do you do if you need to track the caller after the call's ended? You can't. It only tracks it during the time that they're doing it. And if you need the information, how do you get it? And that sort of thing. So they do have a fair amount of information here in their training for the PSAPs, and what it is that you need to do. And, there was a webinar with Nina on Rapid SOS, and there's the FAQs page and so on. So there are a number of resources out there on their specific application, and I think their specific application was what generated the desire of the Regional Advisory Council for us to put on this webinar, mainly because it's new. It's different. I will tell you there has been some reaction from the PSAP community nationally to be concerned with how this and similar applications operate and how they kind of promote using something other than the tried and true, just dialing the digits 911. But, I think at the end of the day, this is the market filling a need and isn't something that we're going to be able to prevent, nor do I necessarily think we should. So what should you do about it? Number one, education is key. Let your call takers and dispatchers know that this is out there. Now, we expect that it will start off slow or maybe be even non-existent. I don't know, Alan Bailey, to pick on you since I saw you on. I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of people down your way with the cell phone coverage you have, jumping to download this. I don't know if that's going to happen in Fairfax County where there's 1 million people. I don't know. But I do suspect that it's going to grow over time, and it's going to be one of those things that you won't know you have it in. Thanks, Alan. It may be one of those things that you won't know you have it in your county or your city until you actually start getting calls. And, it might be somebody who has a need, a greater need for 911 that might be the people who download this for greater safety. I will tell you that from their website, it appears that Rapid SOS is marketing and promoting their application to things like college campuses, to things like insurance companies where they have high-risk people they're insuring and they want to give them an added tool or that sort of thing. So they're looking at promoting it towards specific users, though it's available to download from the App Store today. You or I or anybody else can do that. But it is extremely possible that this type of technology is ultimately just integrated into the phones that we already have. Whether it's Samsung or Apple or whomever may want to integrate this, and it may become one of the preloaded apps on the phones like Facebook is and Amazon and those other apps are. But I think it's key for us as the 911 professionals to communicate with the developers if we have any issues. If there's some unforeseen something that happens, we need to be communicating with them. And all of the apps online that I found had links to either feedback to the developers or the website address or something where you could provide them, feedback. We do ask that you copy us at Vita ISP on anything, just so we can kind of maintain a comprehensive list for the entire Commonwealth, so that we can understand if there are problems out there, what those problems are, and maybe we can help work with the developers and NENA and APCO nationally or the FCC or whomever to try and manage this. But at the end of the day, this is only the beginning. We expect that there's going to be a continued push. It was very interesting. If you go to the iPhone App Store and you bring up the Haven app, you'll see there's, I think, 3 or 4 comments. The first one is from somebody called 911 Dispatcher, who gave it a lower rating, saying that they felt it was caused confusion, but the other ratings were very high with, I can't believe this didn't already exist. I thought this was the way it already worked. So there is a potential for this to have great demand and that this becomes very viral. There's also the chance that this goes nowhere. But we did think it was very important to make sure you're aware of it, because these apps are out there. And I have to tell you, when I started doing the research for this, to realize the number of apps that are out there today that do something different to access 911, sending texts, whatever. I was surprised with the number of them that are out there. Most of them are only in the last year or so, and most of them have been updated recently. So I do see this as maybe something that, as the slide says, this is only the beginning. So with that, happy to answer any questions. Like I said, I think I saw Reinhard online. If he's also on the phone, if you have any specific questions about Rapid SOS, we can put him on the spot. But I open the floor to any feedback or comments.
This is William Martin from Culpeper. During the recording of the playback, my opinion is that recording is way too fast. Like for our center, we're doing a lot of multitasking. We're working the radio and the phone, and there could be stuff that we miss. Is there an ability to play it back than having to go to our recorder and play it back? Does it have that feature?
Well, there's nothing inherent about their app that would play it back or anything else, because it's just playing the audio for you. I mean, as a PSAP guy, I would say instant recall recorder would be, the instant playback would be the best way and probably the only way. But I noted that as well, that it is a little bit fast on the on it.
Okay. Oh, that was my 2 cents.
Hey, Steve, this is Gabe in Charlottesville. I had a quick question. Really, it is specific about Rapid SOS.
Go ahead.
It's about the locations. If the call comes in as a regular cellular voice call, then we're going to get wireless phase 2, and we could rebid the location and track it. But in any of the other cases, whether it's Wi-Fi or cellular data, I guess it's a twofold question. I understand there to be no location updating. And then second, if the caller doesn't verify the location and it's wrong and there is no civic address, so it comes in, the civic address, it comes in as VoIP. If there's not a civic address, it comes in as wireless phase 2 as the class of service, but it's not, and we can't rebid it. Do I have that right?
Reinhard, are you on the call? You're probably best to answer that.
Yeah, I am on the line, and I'd be very happy to answer that question.
Sure.
So the scenario that you described is definitely possible. Currently, for voice over IP calls that are routed through VoIP trunks, there is no functionality to rebid the call in a similar way that you would have it for wireless calls. That's certainly something that we are striving to solve, and we're working in several directions with that. One is to convince our routing partner to build in that functionality. As of now, neither of the voice over IP positioning centers offers this, but we are in good conversations with some of them that are really interested in implementing this. So this is forthcoming, I would say. And then there's also important to understand that if you have a next generation 911 system that is capable of receiving location data in a way that is compliant with the NG 911 NINA I3 standard, then you will be able to get updated location in real time. So you wouldn't be reliant on the LE that you need to rebid manually. Instead, you would get the location by reference in what is called the PIDA flow. I don't know if you're familiar with the standard, but certainly as NG 911 gets rolled out, we will have an ability to provide updated location, and not just when you request it, basically in real time. And another opportunity here is we have some emerging partnerships with vendors of CPE and CAD software. And in the future, you'll have an ability to get additional data and updated location inside of your 911 call taking or your CAD system if you have a solution that is sold by a vendor that we have a partnership with. And in the meanwhile, yes, that is true. No rebidding functionality on voice over IP calls. If the caller indicates that the caller cannot speak, however, you will get location updates over the voice channel in that automated recording that Steve Marksoff played a few minutes ago. But thanks for the question. It's a very, very good question.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you. And I don't want to belabor it, but did I understand correctly from the training that there is a situation where you're not placing the call as a wireless 911 call? It's still using VoIP, but there's not a civic address, so the class of service shows up as phase 2. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And the reason why we're showing it as a class of service wireless phase 2 has to do with enabling mapping applications to parse mapping data off the coordinates instead of parsing an address. Currently, there is no class of service across the United States that works reliably with geospatial location information for voice over IP. I am participating in a NINA working group that is currently revamping the standard, and there might be an update to the class of service document. As of now, my understanding is there's only a few states across the United States that have implemented a class of service that is called VMBL, which stands for Voice over IP Mobile, which is precisely descriptive of what we're doing, which is a mobile location with geospatial location information that is not related to a cell tower because it's VoIP, not wireless. So ultimately, that's a class of service that we can look into. We currently don't send it in Virginia. We only send it in some states that have explicitly requested it, but we're very open to that discussion and looking forward to working with VIDA and any other interested parties on finding the best solution for Virginia.
Thanks.
So this is Steve Marzoff again. It sounds like one of the things that you may want to also let your call takers know is the fact, and point it out during the training, is that they may have a call with WPH2 that doesn't allow it to be rebid if it says Rapid SOS. Not that every wireless call that we rebid actually rebids either, but any other questions for either Reinhard or generally speaking? If you have any questions after the fact, if you go to the rapidsos.com website, there's contact information for everyone. I'll give you Reinhard since this is easy. It's REKL@rapidsos.com. But are there any other questions? We have about 8 minutes left.
Hey, Steve, can you hear me? This is Jeff in Eastern Shore.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, just telling you, this has hit us. It hit us a few weeks ago, not with the Rapid SOS, but a seizure app that played out just like you said. We got a text sent to us which gave location about so and so patient having a seizure. It texted her mother who was in another state. Her mother called us telling us she got a text. So kind of what you played out earlier definitely played out here in Accomack a few weeks ago.
Yeah, my knee-jerk reaction was about to say, I'm glad to hear that you had, but no, I'm not glad to hear that you had that type of experience. I mean, it's actually a little bit troubling to hear that. But yeah, that's why we wanted to do this webinar, because we do think this is going to happen more sooner rather than later. And it is very it is something we're going to have to react to. Now, we should through the years. I mean, since I've been in the business for 30 years, we've had to react to first it was E911, then it was wireless and VoIP, and we seem to constantly be playing catch up. And you all have been hearing me say for years that the creativity of the telecommunications and IT industry is such that nothing surprises me anymore. And though there are people who are fighting these apps in general and saying, not in my state, over my dead body. I don't think we can legally do it. I also don't think we can afford to do it, because at the end of the day, this is what's going to bring innovation and help us in the long run. And there will be some issues here and there. I know there will be. Anytime there's new technologies, I mean, think of how many wireless calls were dropped before the networks got built out, and then some areas still get dropped, even with the network built out. But it's going to be evolving. It always will be, and to try and fight its howling at the moon, we might as well embrace it and try and use it to our best benefit. Did have a question online about which apps were free and which ones have fees. Didn't really mention that on here. You can go to the App Store and it'll tell you in there which ones are which ones you can download for free. I did not download them all because, as I said, I've been having problems with my iPhone, and maybe it's because I was downloading all those apps and trying them out. But what I will tell you is some of them, I won't call them hidden fees. When you look at them on the site, they say free, but embedded in them are, well, if you want to use this feature and if you want to use that feature. One of them, it was all the texting. Well, if you wanted to text anybody else, you had to pay a subscription. But if you just wanted to be able to call 911 with one button, then that was free. So really all it did was give you a button to speed dial 911, without the fee. So, it's caveat emptor with any app you download from, either the Android or the iPhone store. Any other questions? Well, thank you all for your time today. Sorry for the phone problems in between. We'll try and always do these from a landline phone in the future. We were actually out having meetings this week, so need to do it from the road. But thank you for your time, and if you have any questions that come up after, please reach out to your regional coordinator. And please remember, next week we're talking about data analytics. We're going to talk about what we're going to be presenting to the board at their May meeting, and really want to make sure that you're up on what we're talking about and what we're talking about doing to make sure that you know what's coming. So please try and attend if you can, and have a great day. Thank you.